My phone shatters the darkness at 2:50 a.m., its ring piercing through the quiet of my Paris apartment. The screen glows with my sister in law's name, Rachel. Harper. Her voice breaks on a sob. Your father had a stroke. Come home quickly. The words hit like a bucket of ice water. I bolt upright, my silk sheets tangling around my legs. What hospital? St. Mary's, Rachel's breath hitches. Please hurry. My hands shake as I fumble with my laptop, booking the first flight I can find. 6,000 euros. Nearly everything in my savings, but what choice do I have? The Montmartre hotel project sits half-finished on my drafting table, its elegant lines a mockery of the chaos erupting around me. 6 months of work, my biggest commission yet, and now I'll have to abandon it. The taxi crawls through Paris traffic 40 minutes later while my mind races ahead. 8 hours trapped in a metal tube, wondering if I'll make it in time, wondering if he'll still be alive when I land. The last conversation I had with my father plays on repeat, his disapproval of my career choice, his insistence that I was wasting my potential outside the family business. My grandfather Raymond would have understood. He always said following your heart wasn't selfish if you did it with integrity. But he's been gone 3 years now, and without his gentle wisdom as a buffer, the family fractures have only deepened. The airport terminal blurs past as I run, dragging my hastily packed suitcase. I barely register checking in or boarding. My world narrows to the steady drone of engines and the tight knot in my stomach. Every minute feels like an hour. I spend the flight clutching my armrests, watching the sun crawl across the Atlantic. The woman next to me offers a sympathetic smile and a tissue. Apparently, I've been crying without realizing it. I manage a wooden thank you, but can't bring myself to explain. At the present, the taxi from JFK winds through familiar streets that somehow feel different. McGinty's Diner, where Dad used to take us for Sunday breakfast, is now a sleek coffee shop. The old movie theater has been converted to a pharmacy. Even my hometown feels like it's moved on about me. St. Mary's Hospital. I tell the driver, my voice hoarse from disuse. He nods, taking the turn onto Madison Avenue. An hour later, the emergency room entrance looms ahead, its red letters harsh in the morning light. I practically throw my fare at the driver and rush inside, wheeling my suitcase behind me. Gregory Peterson. I tell the intake nurse. He was admitted last night. Stroke. Her fingers tap across the keyboard. She frowns. I'm not seeing any record of a Gregory Peterson being admitted in the last 48 hours. That's impossible. My sister-in-law called. He's supposed to be here. More typing. Let me check our other systems. Sometimes transfers don't show up right away. 5 minutes of searching yields nothing. The cold certainty settling in my stomach has nothing to do with hospital air conditioning. I pull out my phone, hands steady now as I dial my brother's number. 1 ring, 2, 3. Blake Peterson. Where's Dad? A pause. He's at home. Rachel said he had a stroke, that he was at St. Mary's. Another pause, longer this time. There must have been some confusion. Why don't we come to the house? We can explain everything. The taxi ride to the family estate takes exactly 12 minutes. I count every second, watching familiar landmarks scroll past. The stone wall marking the property line, the wrought iron gates, the long driveway lined with maple trees my great-grandfather planted. I don't bother ringing the bell. The front door opens under my hand, unlocked as always. The foyer gleams with its usual pristine perfection. Not a speck of dust on the antique console table, fresh flowers in the Waterford vase, family photos arranged just so. Voices drift from the library. I follow them, my heels clicking against hardwood floors. The door stands ajar. And there sits my father in his favorite leather chair, very much alive and healthy, swirling bourbon in a crystal tumbler. Legal documents, mahogany dining table. Blake stands by the fireplace, his posture too casual to be natural. And in the corner, Arthur Whitman, our family lawyer, quietly organizes papers into neat stacks. Harper. Dad's voice is warm, pleasant, as if this were any normal morning. As if they hadn't just made me empty my savings account and fly across an ocean for a lie. Thank you for coming so quickly. We have some urgent family business to discuss. Blake clears his throat. About the hospital is a false alarm. Dad's fine. I look between them, my father's practiced smile, my brother's unconvincing concern, the lawyer's careful focus on his papers. The pieces click into place with terrible clarity. They needed me here, and they knew exactly how to make it happen. I set my suitcase by the door with deliberate care, buying time to decide, confront them now, or play along until I understand what they're really after. The choice crystallizes as I notice the trust paperwork among the scattered documents. My grandfather's elegant signature on the corner of one page, the word inheritance visible on another. So that's what this is about. I smooth my travel-wrinkled blazer and meet my father's eyes. Well then, I say, my voice steady, why don't you tell me what was so urgent it required faking a medical emergency? Behind me, the library door swings shut with a soft final click. I believe we can all agree this situation requires a delicate handling. My father swirls the bourbon in his glass, ice cubes clinking against crystal. The morning sun streaming through leaded windows catches the amber liquid, casting tiny prisms across the mahogany table. Legal documents spread before us like a paper minefield. My fingers curl around the arm of my grandfather's old leather chair, finding the familiar worn patch where his hand once rested. The scent of lemon polish and aged wood fills my lungs as I force each breath to remain steady, measured, professional. Just another business meeting. Family unity has always been our greatest strength. Dad's voice carries that practiced warmth he uses for particularly lucrative clients. Your grandfather built this company on the foundation of shared prosperity. Blake steps away from the fireplace, spreadsheets fanning out from his manicured hands. The quarterly projections show a concerning trend. His Harvard MBA comes through in every crisp syllable. Market volatility, combined with unexpected supply chain disruptions. Perhaps we should be direct. Arthur Whitman's leather briefcase snaps open. Our family lawyer extracts another stack of documents with surgical precision. The situation requires temporary fund reallocation to maintain operational stability. The magnitude hits me as I scan the numbers. $4.6 million. My voice sounds distant, hollow. That's what you need to avoid bankruptcy. Dad's fingers tighten around his glass. Your grandfather's trust comes due on your birthday next month. $7.4 million that could secure the family legacy. The room blurs slightly at the edges. I remember the day Grandfather Raymond explained his decision, the afternoon sun warming his study, his green eyes bright with purpose. The trust requires you to build your own path, little bird. Away from the family business, your father. He never understood there are different kinds of strength. Blake and Camille received their shares years ago. Dad's tone suggests reasonable disappointment. They chose to reinvest in the company. Chose. The word tastes bitter. I glance at Blake's Italian wool suit, the heavy gold watch gleaming on his wrist. He'd gotten his inheritance at 25, right after business school. The same year, the company mysteriously acquired 3 new lumber mills. Your grandfather would want you to save the family legacy. Dad leans forward, bourbon forgotten. He couldn't have anticipated this crisis. Blake slides another spreadsheet across the polished wood. I've prepared some projections showing optimal investment strategies. The return potential? Excuse me. My voice remains perfectly steady. I should freshen up after the flight. I rise with careful grace, heels silent against thick carpet. Dad's study door closes behind me with a soft click that echoes through my bones. My fingers trail along the hallway's oak wainscoting, gathering the courage to explore. The house feels different in daylight, emptier. Memories whisper from every corner. Summer afternoons spent reading in window seats, winter evenings watching snow fall in the garden. I slip into Dad's private office, the one even Blake rarely enters. File cabinets yield their secrets to the key I'd copied years ago. Financial records, property deeds, loan documents with interest rates that make my throat tighten. The family business bleeding money like a gutted animal. Movement in the garden catches my eye. Camille kneels among her roses, pruning shears flashing in morning light. My baby sister, the only one who never tried to shape me into something else. The French doors open silently. Dew soaks through my stockings as I cross the lawn. Harper. Camille's smile holds genuine warmth, but her eyes dart toward the house. She rises, brushing dirt from her gardening apron. I'm so sorry about everything. Are you safe? The question slips out before I can stop it. Her pruning shears snip a withered bloom. Financially? For now. Her voice drops to barely a whisper. Be careful. Blake's been moving money offshore. Shell companies, property holdings. I found some papers. I squeeze her shoulder once, memorizing the feel of worn cotton under my fingers. Time to decide, confront them now, or play the longer game. The trust paperwork surfaces in my mind. Grandfather's signature in the corner, his voice echoing across years. Patience, little bird. Sometimes the strongest position is the one they don't see you take. Back in the library, 3 pairs of eyes track my return. I smooth my blazer, channeling every negotiation I've ever handled in Paris. I appreciate the complexity of the situation. My tone suggests reasonable consideration. I'll need time to consider what's best for everyone. The tension bleeds from Dad's shoulders. Blake's smirk doesn't quite reach his eyes. Of course. Arthur Whitman gathers his papers with practiced efficiency. This is a significant decision. A few days to review everything thoroughly. I meet my father's gaze. That seems prudent. He raises his glass in agreement, perfect confidence restored. They don't see my fingers curled against my leg, nails biting into palm. Don't notice the way I catalog every document on the table, every file abandoned in their relief. They think they've won the opening move. They forget who taught me chess. Grandfather's voice whispers from the leather chair. The game isn't always what they think it is, little bird. No. Sometimes it's about discovering just how deep the betrayal goes. The next day, after talking to my grandpa's former assistant and arranging a meeting, I went to meet her. Mrs. Ainsley's arthritic fingers tremble as she unlocks the filing cabinet in her basement. The retired CPA shoots nervous glances toward her narrow windows, though we're below ground level. Your grandfather insisted I keep copies of everything. She pulls out a stack of leather-bound ledgers. Even after Blake called them redundant and had the originals destroyed. I steady my phone's camera, documenting each page she turns. The numbers tell their own story, systematic draining of company accounts, masked as business expansions. Blake's signature appears on document after document, each one bleeding a little more money into his personal ventures. Does anyone else know about these records? Mrs. Ainsley shakes her head. Raymond made me promise to keep them safe. Said someday they might matter. Her voice catches. He always worried about Blake's creative accounting. Back in my rental car, I scan through the photos. 6 days of gathering evidence, and the pattern is clear. But I need someone who understands the legal implications. Someone I can trust. The phone rings twice before she answers. Clara Warren. It's Harper Peterson. I pause, watching a neighbor walk his dog past Mrs. Ainsley's house. I need your help with Grandfather Raymond's trust. Silence stretches across the line, then, I was wondering when you'd call. Clara arrives 3 days later, her silver Mercedes parking behind the downtown diner where Reed Collins already waits. My college ex now works white-collar crime for the state. His badge stays hidden, but his eyes still hold that same sharp intelligence that first drew me to him 15 years ago. You've got quite a situation, he says, sliding into our corner booth. No hello, no small talk. Some things never change. Clara spreads the trust documents across the Formica table, careful to avoid the coffee rings. Raymond built in protections I've never seen before. Anti-coercion clauses. Specific provisions against family pressure. She taps one paragraph. He knew they might try something like this. The contract they want you to sign? Reed points to the photo on my phone. Hidden clauses. Blake's already using your inheritance as collateral. 3 new loans in the past month. My coffee grows cold while they outline criminal charges, statutes of limitations, potential sentences. The fluorescent lights flicker overhead, turning Clara's elegant silk blouse in sickly green. Outside, trucks rumble past on the highway. Drivers will never know they're witnessing the dismantling of the Peterson family legacy. If we move fast, Reed says, we can protect the evidence. But Harper, his hand stops short of touching mine. This means turning in your own father. I know, I respond, and I am ready. We plan everything and go home. Later at my hotel room, the bathroom mirror shows dark circles under my eyes. 6 days of secrets. 6 days of pretending everything's fine while I gather proof of my family's crimes. Water splashes my face but can't wash away the truth. I'm not just protecting my inheritance anymore. This is about Camille's future too. My hand stopped shaking as I dialed the number Reed gave me. Yes, I'd like to speak with the Financial Crimes Unit. My voice sounds strange in the tiled bathroom. Distant. Professional. I need to report evidence of extensive fraud. 2 hours later, I sit in a government office, surrounded by state investigators. They record my statement, copy my files, document the trail of evidence leading back through years of careful deception. I write every detail in clean architect's printing. Sign my name on official forms. Watch them timestamp and file each piece of proof that will destroy my family. My father's voice echoes from childhood. Family protects family, no matter what. But he never taught us what to do when family becomes the threat. The investigator slides her card across the desk. We'll need you to maintain your routine. Act normal. Can you do that? I think of the family brunch tomorrow. My father's bourbon-soaked smile. Blake's smug confidence. The contract they expect me to sign. Yes. I tuck the card into my wallet. I can do that. Back in my hotel room, I practice my expression in the mirror. Not too eager. Not too resistant. The perfect mask of reluctant compliance they'll expect to see. Years of navigating family dynamics finally serving their purpose. My phone buzzes. A text from Blake. Don't forget brunch tomorrow, 10 a.m. sharp. Wear something nice, we're celebrating. I set my alarm, lay out my clothes, check my presentation one final time. Tomorrow they'll think I'm surrendering my inheritance. They have no idea what's really coming. The ceiling fan spins lazy circles above my bed. Sleep won't come, but that's fine. I've spent 6 days playing the dutiful daughter while building the case that will bring down our family's house of lies. Now I just have to make it through one more meal. At home the next day, the Limoges china glints in the morning light, each place setting a perfect mirror of the next. Gregory always did have an eye for presentation. I watch from the doorway as he adjusts a dessert fork, aligning it precisely with the others. The dining room table stretches before him like a battlefield, mapped out in porcelain and crystal. The coffee service needs polishing. His voice carries that familiar note of command. And make sure the contracts are arranged by the head of the table. Blake should be here any minute. The housekeeper hurries to comply, her shoes clicking against the hardwood floors. I slip away before he notices me, retreating upstairs to finish dressing for this farce of a family brunch. My charcoal gray suit armor feels appropriate for the occasion. I secure the last pearl button on my silk blouse, remembering how Mother used to say a lady always dresses for the outcome she desires. If she were here today, I wonder whose side she'd take. The doorbell chimes. Through my bedroom window, I watch Blake stride up the front walk, leather briefcase swinging. He's whistling. Actually whistling, like a man who believes he's already won. I check my watch, 10:45 a.m., everything right on schedule. When I descend the main staircase 15 minutes later, the performance is in full swing. Blake arranges papers with practiced casualness while Camille fusses with flower arrangements, her eyes darting between family members like a nervous sparrow. Our family lawyer, Arthur Whitman, stands by the sideboard attempting small talk about the weather. Harper. Gregory raises his crystal mimosa glass. So glad you could join us for this special occasion. I smile, letting just enough warmth reach my eyes. I wouldn't miss it. The first course arrives, delicate crepes with fresh berries. I take small, measured bites as conversation flows around me. Blake expounds on property values in the Berkshires. Gregory pontificates about legacy planning. Camille pushes food around her plate, watching me. The expansion possibilities are remarkable, Blake says, spreading his hands. Once we consolidate the assets. How many properties have you acquired this quarter? I cut in, my tone casual. The market's been quite active. He pauses, fork halfway to his mouth. We can review the portfolio details after we handle the primary business. Of course, I sip my water, just curious about the scope of our family enterprise. Gregory clears his throat. Speaking of business, he nods to Arthur, who produces a thick envelope. Harper, we've prepared everything according to standard procedures. The transfer documents just need your signature. A toast first, Blake suggests, lifting his glass. To family unity, to preserving and growing the generational wealth our ancestors worked so hard to build. The crystal chimes as glasses meet. I let mine hover near my lips without drinking. Arthur slides the contract across the polished mahogany, aligned perfectly with my place setting. A Mont Blanc pen gleams beside it, Gregory's favorite, reserved for significant signatures. Take your time, he says. Review everything thoroughly. I open the envelope with steady hands, scanning pages I've already memorized. The hidden clauses blur between lines of standard legalese, The same traps Clara pointed out last week. I turn each page with deliberate care, feeling their eyes on me. Everything appears to be in order, I murmur. Though I'd like one final read through, if you don't mind, just to be certain. Of course. Gregory leans back, perfectly at ease. We want you completely comfortable with the arrangement. The grandfather clock in the hall strikes 11:30. As if on cue, the doorbell rings. Camille starts to rise. I'll get. No need. I fold my hands in my lap. That would be Clara Warren. Blake's chair scrapes against hardwood. Clara? What's she doing here? Heavy footsteps echo in the foyer, too many for just one person. Clara appears in the doorway, flanked by 2 state investigators in dark suits. Mr. Peterson, she nods to our father. I apologize for interrupting brunch, but these gentlemen have some questions about certain financial irregularities. Blake lunges for the contract, but one investigator is faster. Those documents are now evidence, sir. Please step away from the table. What's the meaning of this? Gregory's voice thunders. Harper, explain yourself. I meet his gaze across the ruins of our careful tableau. The meaning is quite simple, Dad. You faked a medical emergency to lure me home. You planned to coerce me into signing away my inheritance to cover up years of fraud. Did you really think I wouldn't investigate? We're your family, Blake snarls. Yes, and that's precisely why this hurts so much. The investigators move with quiet efficiency, gathering papers and electronics. No handcuffs, no dramatic arrests, just the steady dismantling of carefully constructed lies. I watch my father seem to age a decade, as he slumps in his chair, his facade finally cracking. Blake's rage radiates across the table in waves, but he stays silent as they catalog evidence. Smart man. He's probably already calculating plea bargain possibilities. Camille catches my hand as I stand to leave. I didn't know, she whispers. About any of it, I swear. I know. I squeeze her fingers gently. We'll talk soon. I walk out of that dining room without looking back, the click of my heels marking time with my heartbeat. The sun streams through leaded glass windows, catching the dust motes we stirred up. Tiny things hidden in plain sight, now impossible to ignore. Outside, birds sing in the maple trees my great-grandfather planted. The world spins on, indifferent to the implosion of the Peterson family legacy. I pause at my car, key in hand, remembering Sunday brunches from happier times. But you can't preserve a false peace by sacrificing truth. Sometimes love means choosing justice over loyalty. I start the engine and point the car toward town. I have a flight to Paris to book and a hotel design waiting to be finished. The future spreads before me like a blank page, ready for whatever I choose to build next. The next day, the oak conference table stretches between us like a battlefield. My father slumps in his leather chair, suit jacket unbuttoned, while Clara spreads documents across the polished surface. Outside the law office windows, spring rain drums against glass, nature's own testimony. The preliminary hearing is set for next Tuesday. Clara taps a blue folder. The judge granted our motion to freeze the company assets. I scan the financial printouts, each number a fresh wound. 4.6 million in misappropriated funds, 2.8 million in fraudulent loans, 1.2 million in phantom projects that never existed. My father's hands tremble as he reaches for his water glass. A week ago, those same hands gripped a bourbon tumbler with aristocratic confidence. Now his knuckles whiten against plain glass, wedding ring clicking softly. Blake's attorney called this morning. Clara's voice stays neutral, professional. They're exploring a plea arrangement. The evidence is substantial. Prison? The word scrapes my throat. Likely. The federal guidelines suggest 4 to 6 years, though cooperation could reduce that. My father's breath catches. I force myself to watch him absorb this, to witness the precise moment reality shatters his carefully constructed world. His shoulders cave inward, aging him 10 years in 10 seconds. I should have seen it, his whisper barely carries. All those expansion proposals, the irregular accounting. Raymond warned me about Blake's spending, but I thought. He presses his fingertips against closed eyes. A father wants to believe the best. Clara slides a leather journal across the table. The spine shows wear, corners softened by years of handling. My grandfather's distinctive handwriting fills the pages with architect's precision. Raymond left extensive notes about his concerns. Clara opens to a marked section. The trust structure, the career independence clause, the anti-coercion provisions. They weren't arbitrary rules. He was trying to protect you, Harper. All of you. I trace my grandfather's words. Blake shows concerning patterns with money. Gregory enables without seeing consequences. Must ensure Harper maintains independence from family influence. The journal entries span 15 years, tracking patterns I never noticed. Raymond watching, weighing, planning, building protections into his legacy like load-bearing walls in a foundation. My phone buzzes. Camille's text glows on the screen. Can we talk? Just us? Harper. My father's voice pulls me back. You don't have to do this. We can find another way. The family name. The family name belongs in handcuffs. The words snap out before I can soften them. You faked a medical emergency to manipulate me. You were going to steal my inheritance. The family name lost its meaning long before I exposed the truth. He flinches. Good. Let him feel something real for once. I've arranged counsel for both you and Blake. I gather the scattered papers into neat stacks. Quality attorneys who will protect your rights. That's more consideration than you showed me. You're still my daughter. And that's why I'm not pressing additional charges for the fake stroke scenario. I stand, smoothing my skirt. But it's also why I can't trust you anymore. I went out, leaving him speechless. The elevator ride to the lobby stretches eternal. My heels sink into plush carpet as I cross to the building's front entrance. Outside, the rain has stopped. Sunlight gleams off wet pavement. Nature's own fresh start. Camille waits at our favorite coffee shop, 2 blocks and a lifetime away from the law office. Her fingers worry the sleeve of her cardigan, a nervous habit since childhood. But her spine stays straight, shoulders squared. She's growing into her strength. Blake won't speak to me. She stirs her untouched latte. He says I chose the wrong side. There aren't sides, Cam. There's right and wrong. I know. She meets my eyes. That's why I'm grateful. For what you did. For showing me it's possible to love family without enabling them. My throat tightens. I reach across the table, squeeze her hand. We sit in comfortable silence, sisters finding solid ground in the aftermath of an earthquake. The next week blurs past in meetings and documents. Peterson Timbercraft dissolves not with a bang but with signatures and seals. Civil penalties. Asset liquidation. Administrative proceedings conducted in hushed tones and climate-controlled offices. 3 different competitors offer to buy the company name. Old money vultures circling fresh carrion. I decline each offer, ignoring their escalating bids. Some things aren't for sale. My laptop screen fills with the familiar faces of my Paris design team. The Montmartre project timeline stretches across shared documents, waiting for my return. The structural reinforcement plans arrived from the engineer. Sophie gestures to blueprints visible behind her. We can begin interior work next month if... I'll be there. The certainty in my voice surprises even me. Book the contractor. I'm flying back next week. But your family situation, Pierre's forehead creases with concern, is precisely why I need to return. I minimize the timeline, pull up my original design renderings. This is my work, my life. They don't get to derail that twice. Later that week, I return to the house. I stand in my grandfather's study, now mine by inheritance. The land preservation paperwork waits for my signature. 3,000 acres of forest protected from development. A legacy deeper than business empires. Raymond's photo watches from his desk. Those same green eyes I see in my mirror each morning. I touch the frame gently. You saw it all coming. My whisper fills the empty room. The manipulation, the fraud, the hard choices. You built me an escape route before I knew I'd need one. The setting sun paints the walls amber. Soon I'll board a plane, return to the life I've built. Let the lawyers handle the details. Let Blake face his consequences. Let father wrestle his conscience. My phone chimes with a text from Clara. Final papers filed. You're free to go. Free. The word settles like a key turning in a lock. I power down my laptop, slip it into my bag. The study door closes behind me with a soft click of brass on brass. Sometimes walking away isn't surrender. Sometimes it's the bravest thing you can do. I need a year to figure it out, though. A year later, The morning sun glints off the copper mansard roofs of Montmartre as I stand on the hotel's terrace, watching Paris wake. My fingers trace the smooth marble balustrade, the exact shade and finish I specified 11 months ago. Below, delivery trucks rumble over cobblestones, and the smell of fresh bread wafts up from the boulangerie on the corner. The contractor hands me the final inspection checklist. Every box ticked, every detail perfect. The restored 19th century staircase spirals through the building's heart like a ribbon of brass and mahogany. Art Deco sconces cast warm pools of light across silver-veined marble walls. In the lobby, the original mosaic floor gleams, each tiny tile restored by hand. My phone buzzes a photo from Camille. She's wearing a Stanford sweatshirt, flashing a peace sign from her dorm room. The text reads, "First finals week done. Call tonight?" I smile, remembering our video chat last week. She'd been curled in her desk chair, describing her architecture history professor's reaction when she mentioned having a sister who restored historic buildings in Paris. He totally geeked out. She'd laughed, asked if you'd guest lecture next semester. The weekly calls started as awkward attempts at reconnection. Now they flow easily: homework struggles, roommate drama, her tentative steps into college dating. Sometimes we talk about the harder things. Dad's quiet life in his rented condo, Blake's restricted financial dealings under court supervision. But mostly we focus on building something new between us, brick by careful brick. My therapist calls it post-traumatic growth. I call it learning to breathe again. A text from Clara Warren pops up. Trust paperwork officially filed on your 36th birthday next week. Dinner to celebrate? Below it, she's attached a photo of Grandfather Raymond's handwritten note, preserved in the trust documents. To my Harper, may you build beautiful things that last. The familiar slope of his handwriting makes my throat tight. I tuck my phone away and walk to the edge of the terrace. The Foundation's first project stands half-finished 3 streets over a forgotten Art Nouveau gem being restored to its former glory. Local artists will have studio space on the ground floor, while the upper floors will house a small architectural library. The brass plaque by the entrance will read, "The Raymond Peterson Foundation for Architectural Preservation." Mademoiselle Peterson? My assistant Marion appears with a stack of papers. The Preservation Committee needs final approval on the grant proposals. I follow her inside to my office, where the Paris afternoon light streams through tall windows. A framed photo sits on my desk, me surrounded by my design team at last month's celebration dinner. Real smiles, real connections, no hidden agendas or false unity. The grant proposals spread across my desk like a paper fan. 10 historic buildings waiting for renewal, each with its own story to tell. I pick up my pen, ready to begin. My phone lights up again. Another text from Camille. Serious question: want to show me around Paris this summer? Promise not to criticize your French accent. A year ago, I sat in this same office at 3 a.m, staring at a phone call that would unravel everything I thought I knew about family. The journey from that moment to this one hasn't been easy. When someone fakes a stroke to manipulate you, it's not just betrayal, it's a test of who you've become. I didn't want revenge. I wanted clarity. And I got it. Looking out over the rooftops of Paris, I think about what Grandfather Raymond used to say. The strongest foundations are built on truth. He wasn't just talking about buildings. I text Camille back. Yes, time to show you my Paris. But first, you have to help me plan the Foundation's next restoration project. There's this amazing old theater in our hometown.